Tonight, a Port Lincoln business counting the cost of another break-in. And commercial and recreational fishers clash over Kingfish in the Spencer Gulf.
From our 7 Spencer Gulf studios, your nightly news with John Hunt begins now.
Good evening. The owners of a Port Lincoln hardware store have been left fuming after callous thieves broke into the store in the early hours of this morning, fleeing the scene with donation tins. It's the latest break-in, following a recent spike across the city.
A money trail left behind from an early morning smash and grab.
They weren't in here for long, but just enough to be a pain.
The hardware store targeted just before 1:30 this morning. It's understood 2 thieves tried to enter through the main doors before smashing through a window.
Just got whatever they can just quickly, so not a lot, so just create a bit of damage and for not much return, which is a bit crazy.
The heartless duo stole donation tins before they fled the scene. As of this afternoon, police were still trying to track down the pair, dusting for fingerprints and reviewing CCTV footage.
Our trade centre was done 3 weeks ago. Same thing, alarms went off and they got away with $4.50, which is just crazy.
Locals say they're fed up in what's seemingly been a spike in break-ins across the city. A local deli, community house and hair salon all being targeted in the past 2 months. Despite the early morning interruption, it was business as usual. Staff opening up the side entrance to let customers in. The owners say they're now looking at upgrading their security.
What they're targeting is just silly and senseless, really.
Anyone with information is encouraged to contact police. Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Meanwhile, 2 teenage boys have been arrested after they allegedly stole items from cars at the Port Lincoln Tourist Park. Police say 2 cars were entered overnight on Wednesday, with a number of items stolen, including earphones, a bag of cash and a purse. A 16 and 17-year-old were both charged and have been bailed to appear in the Port Lincoln Youth Court at a later date. A number of state MPs in our region will no longer face investigation over their claims for the country members' travel allowance. ICAT Commissioner Anne Vanstone today confirmed Jeff Brock, Peter Treloar, Eddie Hughes and Dan Van Hulst-Pelican will not face further scrutiny. In total, 9 politicians were given notice. Investigations are continuing into several other members. However, Ms. Vanstone says no conclusion should be drawn into the conduct of those she is not named. Anglers are calling for yellowtail kingfish to be better protected from commercial fishing in the upper Spencer Gulf. Port Perry professionals say a ban would be unnecessary, with net enclosures already implemented in some waters.
It's not all smooth sailing in the upper Spencer Gulf, with recreational fishers calling for an immediate netting ban on kingfish.
We're very, very concerned that the amount of fish are being taken at the moment, mainly being sent to interstate markets, will decimate the kingfish population in upper Spencer Gulf.
An influx of the species in South Australia has created some murky waters, with recreational and commercial fishers competing for a catch.
We haven't seen this many fish taken by the commercials before.
We have a large net fish enclosure in the Port Pirie area and there's huge schools of kingfish available for people to go and catch.
Professional fisher David Wilkes says the Port Pirie net closures should be enough protection.
That are making the complaints, they're not local residents, they're not connected to our community, so they really just don't even know what's going on up here.
He also argues the species is not at risk.
Our catches of kingfish do not affect the sustainability nor the recreational opportunities to catch them.
In a statement, the Minister for Primary Industries, David Basham, says fisheries will continue to monitor the situation and recent reports indicate an upwards trend in kingfish numbers.
We need pressure from the rec fishing fraternity to try and get something done about this, and done quickly before these fish are all taken.
Shari Hams, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
A number of South Australian politicians have been left angry after the state government halted debate on Paddys law yesterday. Labor say his family, who flew to Adelaide yesterday to witness proceedings, were left in tears.
It wasn't the outcome they were hoping for.
Yesterday was one of the worst performances I've ever seen in this place.
South Australia's government stalling debate for the second time on Paddys law, which would make warning labels on LPG bottles mandatory.
There has been no justification given by any member who voted against the bill's progression yesterday.
The bill was motivated after the death of Port Lincoln teenager Paddy Ryan, who tragically died earlier this year after inhaling gas at a house party. Paddy's family flying to Adelaide yesterday to witness the debate. Labor says they were left blindsided.
It was harrowing after that to go and talk to Adrian and his family and friends who were shocked and in tears and looking for answers about why that had happened. And
despite the government opposing the bill, member for Flinders Peter Treloar backed it, crossing the floor for the first time in 10 years.
The law isn't asking for much.
But Connie Benara says Mr Treloar needs to be doing more.
Crossing the floor in and of itself is not enough. So Peter needs to get his party on board.
I was able to secure a meeting with the Premier, between Adrian Ryan and the Premier. There was an opportunity for a one-on-one meeting.
The bill will be debated in mid-November. Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Still to come tonight, South Australian travel vouchers gone in 90 minutes. And Kmart officially sets up shop in Whyalla. Welcome back. T-Ports' Lucky Bay bunker site has reached a new milestone, receiving its first Air Peninsula grain load. Multiple deliveries of barley were made on Monday and Tuesday. The Caden family from Mitchellville were the first to deliver, with growers from farms near Riddell and Kimber also making a drop.
We received, I think, about 500 tonnes yesterday. It's fantastic for us and for the Air Peninsula growers. We entered into this as a symbiotic partnership.
T-Port's CEO says the company is excited about the new season and hopes to continue receiving support from local growers. The South Australian government's travel vouchers have flown out the door this morning, selling out in just 90 minutes. Port Augusta businesses are preparing for a surge in visitors, saying it will help revitalise the city.
Desperate to grab their travel voucher, South Australians forced this website to crash due to demand. By 10:30 this morning, they were all gone.
So it's just over 50,000. So yeah, around $4 million worth that went out. So that's a hell of a lot.
The project aimed at getting people out of their homes and supporting local economies.
And we felt like if we incentivise people to stay with accommodation, that then they would actually go out and have dinner beforehand, go to a bar, maybe go on a tour or do an experience the next day.
Dozens of hotels and motels in our region signing up, including the majestic Oasis Apartments in Port Augusta.
In Port Augusta, the Great Stay voucher is to the value of $50 off an accommodation package.
The Majestic already receiving a booking using the voucher within hours of its launch. It's hoped those visiting will help promote the city on their return home.
Spreading the word that Port Augusta has great places to stay is so important for our staff, our business, the hospitality industry and the region as a whole.
Vouchers must be used before the end of the month. Laura Milovanovic, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Whyalla's new Kmart store officially opened its doors today, with multiple customers lining up this morning for a bargain. The new store bringing multiple job opportunities to the Steel City, with 58 new positions recently filled.
Lining up at 8 o'clock this morning, this happy customer was first through the doors.
Excited. It's fantastic for Whyalla. It's a big opportunity for the Westland Shopping Centre and the people of Whyalla as well.
Whyalla locals no longer needing to make the 2.5-hour trip, with Westlands Shopping Centre now home to Kmart.
It saves us going to Lincoln and everywhere to go visit Kmart.
Staff holding an official ribbon cutting ceremony before floods of excited customers made their way through.
What an exciting time for us here at Kmart. This store is just for the community. We could not be more prouder. The team here have done an amazing job.
Kmart's really committed to bringing our store and our offer to new communities around Australia. So really excited today to bring our 244th Kmart online and welcome the Whyalla team to the greater Kmart family.
The The opening also a job boost for the city despite the impact of COVID-19, with more than 50 people employed.
90% of the target people that were here have come across to Kmart, which has been great, but we've also employed another 38 people from the local communities.
And if you missed today's hype, there's still plenty of time to grab a bargain, with the store extending its opening hours. But you'll need to get in quick, with popular items flying through the doors.
A stainless steel microwave oven.
Something for Christmas, yeah, for the kids.
Sophia Contagonis, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Year 6s visited John Perry Secondary School for a transition meeting today, as the school prepares to welcome them next year as part of a pilot program. Ice-breaking activities kicked off the assembly, with students excited to start high school.
Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, these students are ecstatic to be starting high school next year.
So a few other of the primary schools in Port Pirie are doing the first taste of high school for transitions for 2021.
This morning I was a bit nervous, and I was definitely very excited to spend the day with my friends here and see some of my friends who go here already and meet the teachers and that sort of stuff, do some activities.
John Perry Secondary School one of few schools in the state to welcome Year 7s next year before it becomes compulsory in 2022.
Get used to the environment, get used to the teachers, and get used to the new friends they'll have next year.
Teachers confident they'll have no problem integrating with senior students.
We have separate yard areas for students who are apprehensive about being in the yard with the older students, but generally what we found this year is after the first day they actually don't mind being out and about, so the nerves go pretty quickly.
Those taking the leap are encouraged to be brave.
Just make the most of your opportunities, try and extend your friendship groups and put yourself out there, be vulnerable and just enjoy the transition.
Shari Hams, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Stay with us while as Pink Spirits out and about for National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And Port Augusta cricketers in final preparations for a new season. The Wyala Pink Spirits have been out and about in the city this month, fundraising for breast cancer awareness. Setting up shop in Westlands today, the ladies were delighted by the community's generosity.
It was a pink kind of day for these special ladies, raising money for an important cause.
We're just here really to raise awareness of breast cancer, to let people know how important it is for everyone to have their annual or 2 yearly checks.
Checkups that could save your life. This national event, a reminder for locals to be aware and help raise money for those who need it most. And it's not only for women, men also at small risk of being diagnosed.
Great that Wyala has this wonderful band of ladies supporting breast cancer, the Wyala Pink Spirits. They do a fantastic job.
Wyala businesses also on board, raising money for the cause.
Baker's Delight are doing their Pink Bun campaign, and they're raising funds for Breast Cancer Network Australia, BCNA.
Carven Cut Butchers also joining in, decorating the store in pink to help remind locals to donate.
Come support us, talk to us. If anyone wants a little bit of emotional support, we're here.
Come on down to help the Pink Spirits.
Sophia Contagonis, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
The Port Pirie Youth Theatre will be performing Camp Rock the Musical at the Northern Festival Centre this Friday and Saturday night. The group has adapted a combination of the Disney movies Camp Rock and Camp Rock 2 in a fun and energetic performance. The Port Pirie community can purchase tickets through the Northern Festival Centre website. Port Augusta's cricket season starts up again this weekend, with the competition looking different than usual. There's plans for Port Augusta teams to play against Wyala clubs in a bid to spice up the season.
Straight into the nets after the final siren of footy sounds, these men are raring to go.
Just trying to get as much cricket as I can, especially with it's just short turnover from footy to cricket, so just trying to practice as much as I can, try and get better before the season starts.
However, this season will be different, with plans for teams to travel to Wyala to compete after the Christmas break.
A new innovation where we have a couple of games over in Wyala, club versus club, and in return some Wyala clubs will come and play us.
Port Augusta players welcoming the challenge of playing in other cities.
It just gives us local teams who sometimes get style against playing each other, we can play against, other opposition that we don't know about.
The Whyalla Cricket Association says a program is currently in the works for the combined games and is hoped to be finalised in coming days. The COVID pandemic also changing the way the game is played.
We've got to also sort of like bring our own cricket gear. We've still got to practice social distancing, have our own water bottles. We can't put spit on the ball, if that's not a good thing to say, but yeah, so yeah, it will change the way we play the game.
Laura Milovanovic, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us after the break. We'll check what's biting in the Spencer Golf. And we'll have the weather details with Britt. Hello again, time to check what fish are biting in the Spencer Golf this upcoming weekend. Here's our fishing experts with their tips.
G'day and welcome to this week's fishing tips from Port Augusta, Jewel North. Well, there's been a few big kingfish getting caught, but they're being pretty secret squirrel about where they're getting caught. They have been up around the train bridge, apparently off the Shoreline Caravan Park, and you could bet your bottom dollar they'll be down around the old powerhouse side as well. Crabs are starting to come on the bite, a little bit easier to get, a little bit shallower too along the front of the shacks. No squid whatsoever at the moment. There is some snook around the middle banks and letty spit stick. Silver whiting in the mornings on these big high tides along the front of the shacks and along the mangroves on the other side of the Gulf, plus also at low tide along those big white banks down the Flinders Channel. And that's all we have from the Jewel of the North.
Welcome another week around the Gulf Fishing Tips. You're thinking we're getting a little bit boring in the fishing tips. Not at the moment. There's so many things starting to happen. What I've actually noticed is that a lot of the times that we're starting to get this warm weather really comes in quickly, we have our first feed of blue swimmer crabs. So if you're looking around the Checker Buoy area and all that sort of stuff, and also at the Oval at Port Davis, you should find yourself a good feed. No chance of squid at the moment. The water's getting too hot, but there's some tail enders of King George whiting around the Woods Point area. So have a crack at those and we'll see you next week.
Hi, Whyallah's fishing report this week. Some good numbers of squid coming from the new Whyallah jetty. Land-based around Whyallah, a bit further north, between Point Lowly and Becky Point, there's been some good numbers of squid coming off the rocky points there, so get amongst those. Some really good numbers of salmon trout coming from the Becky Point rocks also, and a few snook with those. Out on the boat, some really good numbers of King George whiting starting to come thick in Whyallah. Best areas to work for those have been the Marrick's Tyre Reef and down towards Cowlitz Landing.
G'day and welcome to Fishing Tips in Port Lincoln. Well, over the past week there's been some small kingfish up to around about 1 metre spotted from the town jetty and also from the main wharf. There's been some salmon trout caught around the main wharf and up through to Snapper Rocks, but mainly by boats trolling through that area. They're also picking up a few snook. There's been some squid in local bays, although the size has been pretty small. Over at Coffin Bay, not much has changed over there from the past few weeks. There's still been some whiting caught around the farm beach grounds and salmon trout inside the bay. That's all for this week. We'll see you again with more tips next week.
And time to take a look at what's happening in the weather. Here's Britt.
Thanks, John, and good evening. It's been warm again today. Before 3 p.m, it reached 34 degrees at Port Augusta, Whyalla and Woodner. Port Pirie not far behind at 33. It got to 31 at Broken Hill, Kadina and Cleve, with a high of 28 degrees at Port Lincoln and 27 in Adelaide and at Clare. From the satellite, we can see a band of thick cloud crossing the Spencer Gulf region, bringing showers to the lower Eyre Peninsula. To our north, clearer skies under high pressure. To tomorrow, and we will start with those waters. Winds north to northwesterly at 15 to 20 knots. Seas up to 1.5 metres with south to southwesterly swells. We can expect cloudy conditions at Port Lincoln tomorrow with a top of 19 degrees. A possible shower for Cleve, 21, and a possible shower for Woodner as well, looking at a top of 25. Whyalla, a possible shower and 24. Port Augusta also with a possible shower and a top of 28 degrees. A shower or two for Kadina, 23. A possible shower for Port Pirie, looking at a top of 25 degrees. Clare, showers and 22. Partly cloudy at Broken Hill tomorrow with a top of 32 degrees. Looking ahead to the weekend now, mostly fine conditions expected on Saturday, maximums in the late teens and early 20s, apart from Broken Hill where it could reach 27 degrees with a shower or two. Fine and partly cloudy on Sunday with maximum temperatures sitting between 17 and 21 degrees. And Monday is looking much the same. Partly cloudy conditions across the region with maximums between 17 and 23 degrees. And John, that brings me to the end of the forecast, and with that, it's back to you.
Thanks, Brett. And that's the local news this Thursday evening. Thanks for joining us. I'll have updates later, and we'll be back at the special time of 6:30 p.m. tomorrow, just before the footy. Enjoy your evening. Good night.